Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. During this spookiest time of the year, come along, take a seat, and join us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard.
My name is Mercy the Tiefling Wizard.
And I am Onog, the half-orc barbarian. And I really appreciate, Thomas, how you changed regions of spook mid-sentence.
Yeah.
I decided
your
I
accent.
wanted more of like a vampire thing.
Instead of just like a Vincent Price kind of a thing.
Travelers.
I'm doing a Shaggy voice next time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Mercy. That's goofy.
No.
Yuck, I'm Mercy.
I'm Mercy. I did it.
No, we're not doing that.
No.
We're not doing that.
We're not. Travelers, if you have a homebrew you'd like us to discuss on this show, or one that you've made, one that you've found somewhere, send it to us at our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, on social media @thecopperfoxinn, or by commenting it below this video. And while you're down there, remember to like the video, and please subscribe to the channel, as it helps to motivate us to make future episodes. Onog, I think you had brought something for us to discuss today.
Well, you know, this time of year is very near and dear to my heart, as it is Skeletal Awareness Month. And I wanted to give a big shout out to the barkeep Clancy, and also just remind everyone that it is already too late. There is a skeleton inside of you, and at any moment, especially with all the necromancers running around this time of year, you can become a skeleton. And so I have decided to discuss the player race. Skeleton.
I appreciate the thought, Onog. I know not a lot of people give me, the appreciation I deserve as a skeleton. I appreciate you, noticing me this month.
So I found this player race on the subreddit D&D, and it was posted a couple of days ago by monkey_DM.
Monkey.
And this is the race skeleton. I died, but I lived.
I like that.
And so yeah, let's just dive in and start breaking it down. All right. So the first and foremost thing is you have the perfect Halloween costume. All year long, you gain the following traits.
Great.
Nice. Very good.
Your Constitution score has increased by 2, but don't forget to drink your calcium.
For your bones.
For your bones, you gotta get strong bones. Ain't that right, Clancy?
Yeah, you're right, buddy. All right. Remember to drink your milk, kids.
All right. So that way you can be strong for the skeleton wars. Now, age, not counting their previous lives, skeleton can be nearly any age. Skeletons don't age. They won't die of old age until the magic or curse keeping them alive ends.
Fair enough.
Alignment. Skeletons are usually neutral, though evil or chaotic skeletons are common, and spooky, scary skeletons even more so. Size. You're about as tall as you were in life, but went on the best diet ever and weigh significantly less. Your size remains medium.
Guys, I lost 30 pounds last week. What'd you do?
I
All of
died.
it, all
became
of
a
it was
skeleton.
muscle structure.
All of it was my organs. Doctors hate him. This one
quick trick. Die
Remove
and
your
become
skeleton from its
resurrected
flesh prison.
by a necromancer.
Free your bone self.
All
Your
right.
bone sona.
Now, I
I
think
just said the word bone sona,
Bone-
and I want everyone to appreciate that for a moment.
I mean, to be fair, everyone has a bone sona.
Everyone has a bone sona, and you need to figure out how to represent yourself.
But anyways, so, speed, I think this is the only entry that doesn't have a joke, is your base walking speed is 30 feet. So you don't really slow down because you don't have muscle structure, once again, because
How
of
many?
the magic.
Isn't there something like there's like 38 bones in your feet? There should have been like 38 feet, and then it could have been
Oh,
like
Movement's
one
speed is
foot for
38
every
feet.
bone.
that's very funny.
Yeah.
I would have liked that.
And dark vision, not having eyes, surprisingly, doesn't affect you that much. Thanks to the magic that brought you back. In addition to being able to see in normal light, you can see in dark light, yada yada yada, dark vision.
I guess.
I
I'll
guess.
allow it.
I mean, you're a creature of the night.
Look, it's dark vision. I'm never excited about it, but I'll accept it.
But I always expect it.
Yeah. They are a creature of the night, and what beautiful music they make. Cue xylophones.
Cube rib xylophones.
Brring, brring. All right, limb forager. This is where we start getting to the interesting stuff. Limb forager. If one of your limbs is severed, you can replace it with another bone of the appropriate type, putting it back in place as an action. So if somebody just blasts you apart, you can just start sticking stuff back.
But does it have to be your bone?
No, it just,
No.
you can replace it with another bone of the appropriate type.
So I can have like halfling legs, but like half orc arms,
And like
but like an elven
ogre
rib
spine.
cage.
Yeah.
My proportions are gonna be off the charts.
I was just wondering if you can have, like, fake bones. Like, if you lose a clavicle, but then you're just walking past a doctor's office, can
If
you
you
just,
get
like, take
prosthetics.
a plastic bone off of their
Clavicle.
clavicle?
I don't know. All right. All right, and here we go. Undead. Your creature type is undead. Now here's like the first and I think only real issue I have with this is it says normally healing spells can't affect you, but your GM can lift this restriction. Now I
Okay.
think that's a little bit of a leftover from older editions like 3.5 where it specifically says undead creatures can't be healed normally by this kind of magic. What in 5th edition it says like there's nothing in the zombie or like skeleton stat blocks that say they cannot be healed. It's actually in the spells themselves that say. So for instance, Cure Wounds says this cannot be used on undead or constructs. And
Yeah.
Healing Word says this cannot be used on undead or constructs. Other healing spells, especially the higher level spell you get, they don't say that. Like I'm pretty if I remember correctly, there's a paladin aura that allows you to heal things like 2d8 as a bonus action or something like that. And that has no stipulations. It just says anyone you want within 30 feet of you, you can just make them heal. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it is not undead in general cannot be healed, but it's just specific magics cannot heal undead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or more
some
accurately,
some-
specific magics can heal undead.
Some undead, and I don't want to be, putting the skeleton cart before the skeleton horse, but some undead have the, like, when you take necrotic damage, you instead gain that many hit points, which I've seen a few different skeleton or zombie brews work into as, like, that's how they heal instead, which is interesting to play with at least, but I'm not sure if this one does that or not.
Yeah, no, I don't think it goes quite that far, because they're already undead and can replace their limbs, and it gets a little crazier as we go. But we'll
right.
get to that bone when we
when we
cross the bridge with the bone milk
Bone
under
bridge.
it, spilled under it. I don't know. All right.
My bones. Why?
But yeah.
I'm gonna say
My
my
bones.
bone milk.
But
Oh,
it
my
is
bone
interesting to note. This doesn't say you count as like a humanoid and undead.
Yeah.
You are
normally. Yeah, normally with most, like, if they're gonna make it a player race, they say you're humanoid and also, but this one's just
Yeah.
undead.
Like the centaur and minotaurs. They're like you are a monstrosity and a humanoid. But this one, yeah, it's just you are just undead. So that gains its strengths and weaknesses as well. So for instance, no one can cast Hold Person on you because you are not a humanoid.
Yeah.
But they can cast Hold Monster on.
But they can cast Hold Monster on you, and whenever your cleric fires off Turn Undead, it explicitly affects you.
Yikes.
So, false appearance. This is where we start getting very silly. You may, as an action, collapse into a non-moving skeleton. While you remain motionless, you are indistinguishable from a normal skeleton. In this state, you are prone and your speed is 0.
That's
So you-
very funny.
You
It
can
doesn't just say while you remain still. You must use an action to collapse into
Yeah.
a skeleton.
So you just fall apart.
Like the clatter of your bones
I love
hitting
that.
the floor.
A la Toy Story Andy's coming. Just
That's very
Oh
funny.
man, we need to pair this with that warlock, the exploding warlock.
Oh no. Exploding
Yeah.
bones.
Just a shower of bones.
Just bones go everywhere.
Also,
I love it.
Speaking of previous things we've done, I think this might be the only player race that would technically be immune in a certain sense to steal bones. Because
Would it be?
if you steal the skeleton's bones, all this means is put this man in a box, and I
Yeah,
legally
but now you
own
do
true.
legally own him.
it. Yes.
That is the
Which,
problem.
look, you gotta take that up with the gods at that point.
Gotta go to bone court.
Yeah, gotta go to bone court.
But anyways, so now we get to skeletal nature. You are immune to disease and being poisoned, and have resistance to poison damage.
Yeah, okay.
You do not need to eat or breathe. Instead of sleeping, you enter an inactive state for 4 hours each day. You do not dream in this state. You are fully aware of your surroundings and how spooky you look.
I'm glad.
good,
I'm
good,
glad
good,
you
good.
at least can appreciate that.
You can appreciate your own
You-
spookdom.
You are fully aware of your surroundings, but must be inactive. That's some real, like, Full Metal Alchemist, like, I don't sleep at night and it haunts me.
I'm
like,
so lonely
I'm so
in the dark.
alone.
Yeah.
You
Yikes.
have to be aware there is nothing to escape the void.
So it's a prison. Oof.
Yeah.
All right.
Not sleeping sounds awful.
Yeah, for sure. If
Sleeping
anything,
is
I wish
like
I
my
could sleep
favorite.
more.
And if Bean were here, she would say the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Languages. Although your voice is weak and ethereal, a lack of vocal cords isn't something magic can't fix. You can speak, read, and write Common, as well as another language you knew in your former life.
Nice.
Now here we break it down into sub-races. Pick a sub-race
Okay.
that aligns with your former life.
Wait a minute. I have a real quick, let's go back for a second, because I have a question about our sleeping.
All right.
It says we do not need to eat or breathe, and instead of sleeping, we enter in an active state. What if, let's say, the sleep spell was cast upon me and was successful? Do I finally enter a blissful sleep
Now,
for
yeah.
the first time in eons?
So I would presume because only specific specific races before in different templates, like with elves and half elves, it says explicitly you cannot be put to
But to sleep by
magical
magical
sleep.
means. Yeah.
Yeah. Now whether
this one
that
doesn't
also
have
applies
that.
to chemicals or like poisons, but are poisons magic? How much of a poison is magic? Anyway. But
Yeah.
this one doesn't say you can't be put to sleep, so I can only presume that you still can be put to sleep. It just says you do not need to sleep.
Okay. So if you are alone in the dark and crave the abyss of sleep to end your lonely nights, just get your wizard friend to like cast catnap on you and you'll be good.
Please.
Please knock me out.
All right. So there are 3 sub-races for the skeletons: the failed experiment, the fallen warrior, and the trapped scout. Each of them have their own niche and will appear in spicy, chunky, and slippery in that order.
Flavors. Are those the flavors? Chunky as a flavor I don't love.
Chonky, not chunky.
So,
Chonky.
chonky as a
It's-
flavor.
it's-
Spicy is a
it's
good
chunky
flavor.
or chubby.
Slippery flavor. I don't like that it tastes slippery. It's like the mayonnaise.
You've
Sub-race.
never had sushi
Gross.
then.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true. That's true.
A lot of things
Eel
can taste
sauce.
very slippery.
That's fair.
All right. So, failed experiment. A magical mishap happened, killing you instantly. After years of rotting away, your flesh was gone, but somehow magic reanimated your body. You are now a walking skeleton. You gain the following benefits.
All right, Monkey DM, I see you.
He's got jokes.
He's got jokes, people. I like it.
All right, your ability score increase. Your intelligence score increases by 1. And then the next ability is called the Elon Musk of bad ideas, or as the internet would like to refer to him now as just Elon Musk.
Just being Elon Musk.
You can increase the potency of your spells at a cost. Your life is the cost. When you cast a spell, you can cast it as if using a spell slot level that is 1 higher. If you do so, roll 1d10. On a 1, you take a number of force damage equal to 4 times the spell's new level. Right after casting it. Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until you take a short or a long rest.
Okay.
So, this is one of those abilities, kind of like the balanced quote-unquote lich
Yeah.
that we studied before. This doesn't give you a spell casting ability, but it is a way to augment your existing spell casting ability. So I would presume at this, if you were taking this subclass to maximum utilization, you would be a wizard or like an arcane trickster or something like that. So that you could. It's a very, very potent ability, but that does not come without its drawbacks, because that's a lot of damage potentially.
That's a lot of damage. I do love it though, and I love the flavor, which I feel like there isn't that much of currently in D&D, of like really pushing yourself beyond your limits to cast that spell just a little stronger. There's a tiny bit of it with the Evoker Wizard's like capstone ability, where they can like overcharge their spell, but then it like
And then it like feedbacks.
gain a level of exhaustion, or they get something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's a little bit of the flavor on that. But I like this a lot of like, hey, look, you can cast any spell, like upcast it for, a price. If it's worth paying to you in this moment, you'll pay it.
Well, yeah, and
what are hit points if not a cost that you are
another
willing to spend?
resource? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also not even in vanilla D&D, not unprecedented, because there are multiple, I believe, either artifacts or legendary weapons and things like that only apply to clerics or paladins. Like if a cleric or paladin is attuned to the book of, what is it? The book of Exalted Deeds. Whenever they cast a spell, it is treated as though it were cast one level higher. So they just become better at what they do because of it. Yeah. And so this is an interesting, like, player race way of handling the ability to gain that kind of power.
Yeah.
Definitely. It is something that, and as you had mentioned, if you're going to give a sub-race a specific tie-in to spellcasting, most of the time you want to bake in at least one way
something
to cast
that they
a
can
spell.
utilize. Yeah, because that's the other side of the coin I was going to bring up, is that if you aren't a spellcaster, if you chose, I was a failed experiment, but I'm a fighter now, this ability doesn't do anything. It does nothing.
Exactly. So it's like, as part of this, if it just said like you can cast a first level spell once per day, like whatever the spell was, they pick a first level spell they like, and that's it. That's all you get. So at least you have something you can use it with.
So
every
you can
time.
Spam Chromatic Orb or something,
Yeah, if you have it.
I think that critique would be, I think, more apt were this like official Unearthed Arcana,
right?
Because
For sure.
It specifically says like pick a subrace that aligns with your former life, and the failed experiment was a magical mishap. So the whole point is that you were a magic user who like did a magical experiment. So I feel like you almost like it's almost telling you explicitly not to pick this if you aren't a spellcaster. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
And that's what I was going to bring up too, is that it's like, well, obviously you didn't pick failed experiment if you weren't going to utilize these abilities, kind of a thing.
For sure.
Right.
Also, failed experiment gets proficiency in Arcana. Makes sense, especially if they used to be a wizard. But the next one, the next fallen warrior, you died on the battlefield or perhaps ambushed by enemy forces. The warrior's will never left you, even in death. The means by which you were brought back are unclear, but you keep on fighting. And you gain the following benefits. So they gain strength, +1 to strength. And they have unbreakable will. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and on death saving throws. So already we have some really cool stuff, and we're getting a little more of like the skeletal undead fortitude kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Of like, it should be harder to kill me because I am already dead.
I am cursed with life.
Now we get to Martial Master. The training you had in your previous life is still there. You gain proficiency in 3 different martial weapons of your choice. No, a chair is not a martial weapon.
Oh yeah, tell that to my Kensei monk who only wields chairs.
Exclusively with chairs. Now this has the opposite issue, is that if you chose the Fallen Warrior because you wanted to be a fighter skeleton, then this ability also doesn't do anything because you're already proficient in all martial weapons.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would, if I wanted to utilize this ability, I would pick the Fallen Warrior skeleton race if I wasn't going to be a martial class, so I could gain the martial weapons outside of what my class normally would be able to wield.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Would that be? I'm not very familiar with Kensei monks, because isn't their whole deal that they only have one type of martial weapon that they
Sort of.
Well,
use?
They
Kensei
gain
monks,
more of them.
as they level up, they gain more and more
Yeah.
martial weapons, and as Kensei has been put in the official books, it treats everything you are proficient in as your Kensei weapon, I think, instead of like in the Unearthed Arcana where it was like, no, just the weapons you chose as Kensei
Yeah,
are
yeah.
Kensei. Everything you're proficient can
You know-
be Kensei, so this would make a decent Kensei monk.
That's what I was wondering. Is which class would this then be the most
As
useful
it,
for?
if it gave
You know,
you like free proficiency or in proficiency in things that you couldn't take at the level that you were or something like that.
You know, would this subrace be useful for a monk? Who can say?
Who can say?
Who can say?
Who can say?
Where the road goes. I get exactly what you're saying, though, Onog. Like, if you want to match it up with your former life, and your former life was a fighter, this
Then-
is straight. Like, done.
Right,
Like, I
right.
don't get anything off of it.
But anyways, so moving on to the Slippery, the Trapped Scout. You were perhaps scouting a perilous dungeon or investigating the whereabouts of a powerful political figure. But it wasn't great, nor the greatest for that matter. You died. But you lived, partially, that is. There's a lot of
Did I die?
stop
Yes,
and go.
but I live.
But I lived. Partially, that is, you gain the following benefits. Your dexterity increases by 1, and you have
slippery.
you have trap sense. Your body remembers what it was like dying from a trap and does not want to relive the experience. It has advantage on saving throws caused by traps.
I love that.
You're like, no, not
I love
again.
that.
Which is like, that's, if you were going to give a niche advantage, like blanket advantage, like that's a very good reason to give it, I feel.
That's fun.
It's just,
be
you're constantly aware and terrified of traps, so you're ready to go at any moment.
Not again! So, to be a pedantic little jerk,
Yeah.
this is actually a thing that has existed, or at least, you know, a similar mechanic exists in a few other places, and everyone always is like, what's a trap, though? Well,
Yeah.
what's a trap, though? Is
is
a rock
intent-
falling a trap?
Is intent behind the creation of it a trap? Because there's the dungeon delver
Because, like, a
feat.
pit is not a trap unless someone dug it with the intent of it
Right,
being a
right.
trap.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
Do
and
traps
then
have
and
to be
then oh
intentional?
gosh, yeah, find traps, everyone's favorite spell that everyone should always take every time. No, don't listen to me. I'm being mind controlled. Never take find traps. I just need to do a video on just don't take these. Spell list.
How to be the worst wizard, and then you just give every bad spell to take and be like, play this and you'll be the worst wizard.
But yeah, so what counts as a trap? Is it? And so I would say, like, from this perspective of like the flavor can kind of help inform us of, it's just like, nah, they're just ready to get out of the way at any moment because of their paranoia of it.
Yeah.
And so like a rock falling because you triggered something, I would say would count as a trap. But like a wizard
classic-
casting fireball doesn't count, you know, kind of thing.
The classic, like, being, like, nitpicky jerks on the internet bit is to say, but isn't an ambush a form of a trap? Which is
right.
like,
and that's the thing. It's like, well, what benefit what benefit would this ability give you? It doesn't. But yeah, and so it's like, is a pit a trap? Is falling down rough terrain a trap? Is a ball of gas in an ancient temple that has just been building and building and building because no one's come into the, there was a leak of natural gases in the area and no one has come to the temple for 300 years and accidentally triggering that, is that a trap, And so.
Does it have to be that another character in this world set a trap, or just that the DM set a trap?
Yeah,
God.
exactly.
Yeah.
universe itself has
And
trapped.
the answer is...
The answer is get over it. You're a skeleton.
Talk
It's
to your
fine.
DM about it.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So talk to your DM. And then, of course, we get naturally stealthy. Your body is light and does not give you away. You are proficient in stealth checks.
Nice.
You know, one of the things that I appreciate a lot is that since we don't own Dungeons and Dragons, we can be like, and you know, the answer to that question is get over it. I don't know.
Like, no one at WotC can say that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they sort of do, but
Yeah,
we
a
can be
little
much
bit.
like stronger about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. The answer is it doesn't matter. Stop worrying about it.
You figure it out.
You figure it
Figure it out for
Yeah.
yourself.
And yeah, in the case of the trap sense, I would say, like, if I were the DM, if you can thoroughly convince me that this would count as a trap, then I will give it. But, you know, DM is law kind of a thing, and just say,
Sure.
Yeah.
no, this one doesn't count as a trap.
And I feel like the general guidance that I would offer to DMs is err on the side of letting players use their class and race abilities.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to be like, okay, we've been doing this for 5 sessions and I've never used my
Yeah.
ability. Like, that
Because
feels bad, man. So
Everybody
just let 'em use
wants
it.
to feel useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if, like, you wouldn't normally count it a trap, let it be a
Yeah,
trap
like,
this time. You know, like...
If your players have speak with plants or speak with animals, don't make them useless every time.
Yeah, don't make all the plants
And
dumb.
don't purposefully remove your players from being around any plants or animals so that they can't use those
Just to
abilities.
got them. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
do that. That's
Yeah,
not
for
fun.
real.
That's not being a good friend.
Overall, I really like this. This is a fun skeleton. I feel like the place where I think this like would work the best flavor-wise is like you're playing a sort of spooky Halloween one-shot, and halfway
Yeah.
through, your wizard just dies.
And he just
But then
comes
you're
back.
like, when the smoke settles, they're just standing there, now a perfect skeleton.
That's so funny. Just a pristine aged white sun bleached skeleton.
No bits of flesh anywhere, like all
Yeah.
gone, perfectly gone.
But still with their like robes
yes,
on.
untattered.
Yeah. Which, speaking of that, actually, this is kind of a tangent, but it's skeleton related here. And it's just a thing that I always notice now. So I really enjoy the art for this. That's a great evocative image.
The art by Nicole Cardiff.
Nicole Cardiff, yeah, good work. But one thing that I always think about now with skeletons, after I noticed it one day, is that cartoons, mostly cartoons, but I feel like media in general, has sort of ingrained in all of us that creatures or cartoon characters are by default male, unless there's a dress, long hair, a bow, or titties. And like, in the absence of one of those 4 things, everything is male. Which, you know, is a whole larger thing of us,
Yep, sure,
you know,
sure.
making everyone male by default because of, you know, the patriarchy. But with skeletons especially, like, I noticed it because I was doing it. Like, I was looking at, like, album art or something that had a bunch of skeletons, and I just, like, gendered them all male talking about them, and I realized it's just because skeletons don't have hair
bow on their
or
head.
often like clothes or like boobs, and so I just automatically would like think they were all male. But that's dumb, because like unless you're like, actually I investigated the pelvic bone and I can tell that this is like a male or female skeleton, like you don't know that. And so I just notice it now, and so if I'm
And-
gonna incorporate a skeleton into something,
The interesting thing is you can actually tell a creature's biological sex almost immediately if you know what you're looking for from their skeleton.
Yeah.
right,
yeah.
but it's like none of us do when we just look at a cartoon
Yeah,
skeleton,
we just go,
you
that's
know?
that's got mean teeth. It's a boy.
Right, and that's just like kind of dumb. So
Yeah.
now if I'm incorporating, just because that image of a skeleton subconsciously reads as like masculine by default to most people most of the time, if I'm gonna incorporate skeletons into a D&D game or art or whatever, I try to like mix it up intentionally. Just because, you know, that's
You
just
don't
like
get that
a silly reason
Yeah.
to not have any of them be female. So
For
just
sure.
think about that.
Definitely. I think this is, you know, it's overall, it's clean enough that you could totally use this in a game right now. This doesn't
Yeah.
need to be drastically overhauled or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's not
perfectly
it's not
functional.
any weird abilities. It's just cute little
No.
jokes thrown into the flavor text on abilities that all work.
Yeah, for sure. It does have a great amount of character in the writing,
Oh,
which
yeah.
in some ways I like miss out on in official published stuff because it has to be so clinical.
Yeah.
I understand that you have to write it so it's perfectly legible and it's hard to misunderstand it, but also just reading like a clinical textbook isn't the most enthralling activity.
Right.
And so I love the vibe of this, and I wish some of the more like recent books that have a character kind of presenting them, like Mordenkainen's
Like
Tome of Foes or
Xanathar's,
Xanathar's.
Yeah,
There's some of that
Xanathar's
in the
has a lot of
margins.
flavor.
But if the whole thing was in Xanathar's voice,
I'd love it if like most of it was in their voice.
that'd be great.
They had a lot of character built into the stat blocks and stuff.
That
I
would
think
be
that'd
really
be fun.
Where it's like as their description of a certain like class or whatever is like heavily influenced by how Xanathar personally feels about them.
+1 to intelligence, which I think is stupid, but whatever. It's a bad
Hard to
stat.
believe it, but apparently.
That's good. I appreciate that Monkey DM has also followed our requirements of one spicy, one chunky, one slippery
Yeah, thanks for
subrace,
that.
which we, as we created that, and no one else had ever thought of that
No.
kind of
And the rule of
division
3
subraces
wasn't
before.
a thing before
Yeah, we
us.
invented this.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
glad
the
it's
whole
finally
idea
catching on.
of like a beefy one, a roguish, sneaky one, and a magic one is something that like you never see in like video games and
so
stuff.
since we invented it, I'm glad it's
Yeah.
catching on now. People are finally realizing. Everyone's like, "Oh, have you seen how the Copperbox Inn
I
was like?
know.
You should have 3."
We've been really influential in the
Yeah,
games
we're really-
community.
We're really up there now. We're basically we're all the next Mammers are pretty much at this point.
I mean, yeah.
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to say, Onog, before we close out?
Nope, just this was really good. This was really cool. This was really fun. And heads up, recruitment for the Skeleton War starts in November. So,
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Yeah. After October 31st, you have your fun, and then drafting season
Now it's
straight
time,
into the
it's time to
Skeleton
go
Army
to work.
and the Skeleton Crusade. Sorry, that's what we gotta. Who are they fighting against? Is it against
other
other
skeletons? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just an eternal conflict
We're all gonna be skeletons.
that has long since lost its purpose or meaning, like all
I was
war.
I was wondering. Nice. I was wondering if it was sort of like the Blood War, where like the demons and the devils war and keeps each other in check. If like skeletons and zombies are always at war just to keep each other in check. You know what I mean?
Well,
the only
I
reason
mean-
zombie apocalypse hasn't happened is because the skeletons keep them back.
Well, the necromantic, necromantic HR departments have been working a lot on skeleton zombie relationships, so that like
that's good.
stuff like
That's
that doesn't
nice.
happen anymore in the workplace.
I would love like the world building of a sort of The Walking Dead-esque, zombie post-apocalypse. There's a few safe sanctuaries, but it's like D&D fantasy times. And so for like the guards on the watchtowers and on like the walls to be like the last layer of protection against the zombie hordes, they undergo a process to become skeletons so they can't be bitten by the zombies.
Oh, that's a
So
good.
skeletons protect you from the zombies.
I'm into that.
It's also sort of an Attack on Titan Evangelion situation where, like, have we become monsters to fight monsters sort of a thing.
That's great.
That's going to be my next campaign, y'all. That's it. Alrighty. Listeners, tell us what you thought of the race skeleton. Tell us which of the subraces you enjoyed and which one you'd like to play in your next game. Tell us about your upcoming Halloween one-shots if you have any, or other Halloween homebrew you've seen that's spooky. Comment it below. Tell us about it. While you're down there, remember to like the video and subscribe for future Dungeons & Dragons homebrew discussion content. And until next time, keep on adventuring.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.